Ba-ding. Here I am. It's been a while. Missed me. Just get myself settled in. Just grab the copy. It's gone cold again. But the trees are blooming. Spring is in the air. I'm sure about it. I've been saying that to my kid several times. Don't worry. Spring is coming. Spring is coming. And by Joe, this summer better be hot. That's all I could say. Make up for it. Long overdue. So I hope everyone is well. Thank you for coming. It has been a while since, well, I've been busy. So things, get put off or whatever. But I haven't forgotten you. And I've been thinking about everyone, wondering how everyone is. Hope everyone is all right. Let me just sort out a few in-house things while I natter away a little bit. Just want to verify on YouTube that my avatar is actually there, present, and isn't just a white circle. I was a bit in mixed minds of which, because there's a backlog of stuff. So I was like, what topic or stream will I be covering tonight? And this one came to mind, and for some reason or another, it's jumped the queue. Well, I think it's because the other ones I want to sort of try and formulate them a bit better before I present them. So I don't want to be like half-assed, and I want to go in depth and be thorough with them. So they're not quite ready. So I've had to impromptu come up with something I feel a bit more comfortable or confident that I could what's right, bang out. I could just get this done, and something that's not just like a vlog or a blog, but actually has a little bit of a topic. So we're going to be talking about things that will. I see. I'm checking on YouTube, and it looks as though my avatar is white. So I'll be back. Let's get the music started anyway. Give people a chance to come in here. So let's go. I complained to my kid about button bashing, and here I am now doing it. So I'll get the music started, and then I'll jump out and come back, and that might fix my avatar. So here we go. And hopefully that will be playing. Let me know if there's no audio. There is no audio. Hold on, sometimes it's a bit. There we go. Right. Like 2.5 minutes. We'll be back. I should get into the habit of thanking YouTube for their audio library. Always handy. Yes. So, welcome Shadrach, D-Man, JR, Reviving Real News. Oh, about the donations. What was I going to say about that? Obviously, don't feel compelled that you have to do such a thing. I understand people, struggle for money. We're all in the same sort of boat in that case. Well, a lot of us are anyway. But I just wanted to say that if you are someone who does donate, not only do you get a thanks from me, many thanks from me, but I'd like you to also realize, acknowledge, or be aware that you're an extended thank you to people who might not have they might want to donate but are unable to. So if you are donating, you're putting what's the right way of putting it? Like you're doing it on their behalf as well, in a way, if that makes sense. So a thank you from me, and a thank you from those who would like to but are unable to for whatever reasons. And so it all goes, in the spirit of things, and helps out. So I appreciate that. And if you want to help out in other ways, you can obviously like, subscribe, share. That's also always appreciated. Sorry, I have to kind of shill or grift or whatever, plug, but c'est la vie. I suppose it needs to be done. Let's get rid of this library. And have you got the notification from StreamYard? They've got new layouts. I was having a little play with that. Seems pretty cool. I might have to have some guests on just so I can mess around with the layout. But pressing on. Let's try and keep these streams a bit shorter. Like an hour would be kind of good. Saying that, I probably jinxed myself and made it now a 2-hour, 3-hour stream. So I've been getting organized. Riggs is here. Good evening, Riggs. So this is what we're going to be covering. I don't know. Can you read that? Is it big enough? I hope you can. And because I've been a bit occupied, and I was thinking, well, the idea of doing a vlog, like letting you guys know what I've been up to, made me realize, oh, well, yeah, okay, maybe this might be a bit motivational for some of you. I suppose as a preface, I should say that, or make a declaration of sorts. Like, this channel, my channel here, isn't officially some MGTOW channel or a Manosphere channel, just for the record. I mean, in the description, I kind of listed it as a narcissism channel, but even then, it's all geared. I mean, you've heard me say it before, that you can only go so far when discussing narcissism before you have to kind of shrug your shoulders and be like, well, that's enough. We'll be here forever. Because inherently, narcissism avoids closure. There is no end. So you could be discussing narcissism forever. Which, if that's your kind of channel, you'll always remain, because there'll always be something to talk about when it comes to narcissism. But my interest in it so much, or why I sort of delve deeply into it, one, because maybe it's my own sort of grandiosity, but I like to think that some of the insights or some of the ways of how I look at the how I contextualize it, I haven't, I mean, as you can guess, I watch a lot of narcissist channels, dedicated or psychological channels, and they have in general, a academic or a literature kind of presentation. They give you the sort of footnotes, and they omit some of the maybe spiritual sort of, I don't even want to say spiritual, the fantasy richness or whatever. So I like to think, or whatever, that I am putting a spin on it in a way that can resonate with people's emotional hearts. Because for the victims, or people trying to, well, maybe not so much people trying to understand it as a subject matter, but more those who are in the turmoil, they're highly emotionally thinking, so they're already kind of got that creativity, imagination in full swing. And so with my presentation style, I'm trying to sort of speak to that soul, or that emotional heart. And eventually, anyway, like I said moments ago, that you get to a point where it's like, enough of this sort of fairyland navigation. This all really adds up to a point of taking ownership and reflecting back on yourself. So although my channel is listed and the description is like narcissist channel, it at its core and its heart, it is really about self-improvement. But it's about you. These narcissist channels aren't really going to be helping I'm not helping the narcissist here in any way. They're a lost cause. So it's not for their benefit. This is for your self-improvement. This is for the individual. This might be for the survivor or the victim or whatever. Fine. It's not designed to keep you in such a place. It's so that you can understand how you got there, not just by the interactions with the narcissist, but your own pitfalls, your own, I don't want to be mean sounding here, I say it with sympathy, like your own deficiencies, your own blindsidedness. Otherwise, you're going to make the same mistake. Otherwise, you're not really going to be able to rectify if you don't understand the problem, how are you going to fix it? How are you going to address these things? If you don't understand how you are your own worst enemy at times, then you can see where I'm going with that. Not to make it, I know I've been a bit car focused lately, but an easy way is like problem solving. I mean, if you've got a fault with your car, you look at the symptoms, you see what's happening, you see the effects, you trace, and you go to the source to try and fix it. So that's a little preface about the structure of this channel. So it's not really, I might talk about MGTOW topics, I might talk about the red pills, black pills, the manosphere, community spaces, and quite often you'll probably hear me talk about the parallels between such community spaces, even such philosophies in a way, or aspects of it, and how it mirrors or parallels with sentiments that are said in survivor, air quote, survivor communities. And not only the positive aspects, like go no contact is very similar to saying go MGTOW, but also the drawbacks of such places, the limitations, because some of these principles, has boundaries and limitations. So it's important to have this awareness and have the honesty to be able to acknowledge and then to be able to address them. I mean, this is part of growing up, to realize that you have to, well, we'll get into that in the point number, I'll put point number 7, not point number 6, sorry, little typo there, into the black pill, because I've been hearing recently some people's confusion with what they believe the black pill is, and I've got my take on it. I'm not saying it's the true definition, but it doesn't line up with what I'm hearing in the slightest. Why am I doing this backwards? Starting at number 7, working our way up to number 1. So, Riggs, have you got a wrench? Let me just double check. No, you don't. Okay. One moment, Riggs. You will have the spanner of turning. There you are. You should be a moderator now. And these wrenches I give to people is so that you feel that you're being acknowledged, being a bit validated. Your voice matters, and no one can I don't think anyway. I'm not sure how the wrenches work exactly, but you can't be censored. You can't have your comments deleted. So generally speaking, you have freedom of speech here. And I request, I'm not dictatorially kind of saying thou shalt not ever talk about such and such topics or whatever, but I'd appreciate it if like maybe swearing is kept down and it's kind of kept on the topic of the stream. So outside drama, I would prefer if it's left out where it belongs, outside. Take it somewhere else, basically. Because this channel, occasionally, I don't know how accurately or how far-reaching it is, but the general public might be popping in from time to time, like people I know in the real world, and they don't know nothing about MGTOW. They don't know nothing about the pills and things like that. So try not to scare them off, is what I'm saying. They'd be like, "Oh my god, who is this guy? He's got a war band of his own going on." Sorry if I'm a bit. Maybe I should put a coat back on. Let's get into that point again. Well, I got a coffee. I'm preparing myself. So get out of your comfort zone. I'm sure we should already be familiar with this idea. You want to grow, you want to self-improve, you want to develop, you want to get to places, you're going to have to do something about it. And actually, that reminds me. Let me just quickly add another bullet point to the backfill. See, working on the fly here. Acceptance. What you gonna do about it? And what? So, whole point. So we'll quickly start off with diabetes as a case in point example. Previously on the Billy the Goat Wild stream or whatever, I was talking about I had a checkup at the hospital, and my diabetes sugar control generally has escalated. It was pretty bad, so my sugars are high. So consequently, the mental effort required to be like, no, I need to get this down, and not just because I'm being nagged by the doctor, but obviously because it's good and all that sort of stuff. And this might be a bit hard to relate to if you're not a diabetic, but as we speak, I shall do a quick blood test, because it's the little things that can sometimes teach us the biggest lessons. And this is a lesson I'm still yet to learn, because I hate doing blood tests. I prefer, it sounds a little silly, I'm more consistent with my injections than I am with my blood tests. And the blood test itself is I'm actually getting it prepped is a simple little finger prick. Doesn't really hurt. It's over and done with within a minute, you know. Especially like compared to the old days when I used to do them. But there's a real psychological kind of, I hate. Right, here we go. You're gonna hear a little click. Oh, see how long that took me to press the button? There's that hesitation. I hate pressing that button. To me, it's like having a gun and pulling the trigger. I'm squeezing the button very slowly because obviously I don't want to do it. So I have to kind of push myself out of my comfort zone and make myself do it. You know, I don't get a choice in the end. Whereas, well, the attitude now that I'm trying to adopt to put into as a habit is, listen, Billy, it's like tough tits. You don't like doing it. Fine. It has to be done. Get it done. Do it. So you can see there's a little bit of a kind of like a cognitive dissonance. There's the emotional side of me that is scared to press that button, will hesitate and stop me. And for the most part, most of my life, it has had its way. So I resent having to do a blood test, to be confronted as well with the result, because if my result is, if I can feel that my sugars are high, you start making these justifications in your head and you go, well, what's the point of me doing a blood test to tell me what I already know? But there's more to it than that. You need to have that number. You need to have it logged into this little device for in order to make, you know, if you want to have good control, you need to do it. Even if you are like, same if the sugar levels go too low and I could feel myself having a hypo, you know, it's like, I don't need to do a blood test really. I know I'm having a hypo, but even no, you still need to do a blood test. So I'm putting in conscious, aware, you know, make sure I'm with effort and all this, getting out your comfort zone. If you're someone who isn't interested, you want life easy, you know, no effort, you're lazy bones, then forget it. Turn off this stream because this ain't gonna be. This is just gonna make you feel bad. If you want to make a change, if you like the voice of Yoda, like, or some sort of Zen, like, if you want to make it, or like the voice of Aunt May from Spider-Man. If you want to make a change, you have to be that change. You know, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change. That means you're going to have to put effort in. That means you're not going to like it. And it's going to be obviously comfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard. It's going to be painful. It's going to be irritating. It's going to be annoying. But it's that consistency and having the foresight, the goal, which is, look, I want to get my sugar, I want to get my diabetes under control. I want to make it better. It sucks having high sugars. There's only one way about this, and that's to take ownership and put the effort in. So, you know, yes, it might be a hassle. Yes, it might feel like it's time consuming and it's taking up your life. Like when I was younger, I used to toy with the idea that like, but the diabetes was the one that had the life, and it had the disease, which was me. Like, I was the problem for the diabetes, when really it's the other way around. The diabetes is a problem for me. But it's this like, as a condition, as a disease or an illness, diabetes. I'll have to do a separate stream going into the emotional trauma, in a way, that diabetes can put on someone. I don't know if this is the same with other kind of illnesses. I can only talk about this from my own personal experience, but there is this constant, because you might hear about people talking about an inner critic or an inner dialogue. Well, I have that with my diabetes. I'm constantly the diabetic voice inside me is constantly communicating, and it's whether or not I'm actually listening to it. I'll give you an example, like a school trip, and I will say to myself, like, look, I'm not going to really be able to pull out a needle in front of all these kids, so I better do my injection earlier than planned, before the trip. And I'll do my injection, and I'll say to myself, I'll kind of already know like what's going to happen. Like, I'm going to have a high, my sugar levels are going to go crashing down at some point. And you get signals, indicators, you can feel it coming. But because you're in the moment doing an activity, you ignore it. It's kind of like maybe, like, let's say you're hungry and your belly's growling and you really want some food, but you say to yourself, no, just ignore it. We're busy doing something else. But it becomes detrimental. It's a bit like that. And so this diabetic voice, from being an enemy, is really a friend in a way. If I was to listen to it properly and to care for it in a way as if I'm caring for myself at the same time, you see a duality here, a split, then there'll be a much better relationship with me and my diabetes. So it almost sounds a little schizoid, how I'm describing it, but it is a little bit like that. There is like you got like an angel and demon on your shoulder. Well, I've got like a diabetic goblin, gremlin, or whatever, sitting on my head, and it talks to me. And sometimes, like, if you get an adrenaline rush, you might have like mixed signals. You might think, oh, am I having a hypo? When really you're not. You're having a similar sensation. And that's why it's important to have a blood test in situations like that. So Rusty's here, pseudoscientist, Lord Saucer's here. Did I miss it? MGTOW Outlaws here. Great to see you all. Thank you for coming. So that's a quick little example of, from my personal experience, of what I'm currently going through, which is a bit silly. I mean, I should have had this nailed. I mean, I've been diabetic most of my life. You would have thought this would be I'd be an expert in this with perfect control, but I'm not. And it has taught me many lessons from being diabetic. So that's one area of my life where I am having to intentionally get out of my comfort of complacency. And this is unfortunately quite often, we'll also find this is where you get the it's not called a metaphor, it's called the quotation of like pain as a teacher. You're not going to typically, we us humans, we kind of enjoy comfort, and it takes some form of pain usually as a motivator to get your butt into gear. C'est la vie. If it has to be, I guess it has to be. So if you have to become more, if you have to, well, maybe this is bad advice, if you have to sort of inflict a bit more damage or pain in order for you to finally get it through your thick skull that this ain't really good what we're doing, we need to stop this, then so be it. What matters at the end, I suppose, is like, congratulations for making the decision to actually finally do something about it, and try not to have too much regret in the process. Just be grateful that you're finally trying to take yourself, although don't take yourself too seriously, but also take yourself seriously. there's more of this duality holding two concepts. Yes, treat yourself with kindness, but also kick yourself in the butt. So kindly kick yourself in the butt. How about that? Okay, so car skills. So this is a second, moving on to point 2. So I'll just quickly, I'll tell you what, between each point, I'll highlight some. So suffer for yourself. We all suffer for others, but rarely for ourselves unless it's a physical injury. Oh, I see. Oh, don't worry about it. It is what it is. Don't need to feel sorry about it. No, you don't. This isn't. If I'll say it, I might as well mention it here. Like, if I had the choice of a cure, or if I had a time machine and not be diabetic, would I make that decision? I don't know. I wouldn't have learned a lot of things that I have done or in the process if it wasn't for my diabetes. So it's a hard decision for me to sort of call on, but like I'm not sorry for being diabetic. Like, in the old days, less than about 100 years ago, if you were diagnosed with diabetes, that was a death sentence. So I was diagnosed at the age of 11. If this was like 1900s and I was diagnosed at 11 I would be dead. So in a way, I'm grateful for the medicines and treatments and the progress and all this. And in that sense, every day in a way for me is a bonus, because had it been a century ago, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have a daughter. So there's no need to feel sorry for me. But thank you anyway. How is the bubble today? You talk about my gut, my bubble gut. I hate self-med. I'd be like, oh, I'll take it in an hour. Exactly. You got that kind of aspect with the medication. It's like, oh, it's like with the injections, I have to kind of psych myself up, prepare for the ordeal, make it into like a ritual where it's like everything has to be a certain way. I have to sit in the chair in a particular position. I have to make sure the needle is orientated in such a way. And that's another, like, most people can just stab themselves, 1, 2, 3, bang, it's in. But I'm so sensitive to pain that I, I torture myself. I slowly push the needle in because I want to have that control, and anticipating a sudden sharpness. So really, I'm making things worse for myself than just sticking it in. And there's a flip side to that, where sometimes I'll do an injection. It's absolutely, I can hardly feel it, and because it's because I got something. I'm preoccupied with something else going on, either in my mind or literally, like, physically trying to get on with things. So I just bang out this sort of injection, and then I've got the problem of trying to remember. Did I have my injection or not? Because if I don't remember, then we're gonna have problems. You can imagine, like, either A, your sugar's gonna go up because you haven't had it, or B, you have had it and now you're about to overdose and have a second one. So it's important to remember, at least for me anyway, like, whether or not I've had an injection, whether I did it or not. So I'd be like, oh, I'll take it in an hour, and then that becomes 2, and so on. Yeah. And then you get to the point where it's like, it's so late in the evening, you decide, or I decide, nah, sod it. I'll just tolerate. And that's a dangerous word. When you start catching yourself tolerating things that you shouldn't be doing for the sake of your comfortability. That's quite a perplexing structure to be having. It's you like your comfort, that even though you are becoming uncomfortable, like you're becoming ill, still you'd rather tolerate it than have to do the things really you should be doing. And it can be an inconvenience, like especially before in the past where insulins, the ones I were on, were very time based. If you had an injection, you had to make sure you had something to eat. The insulins I have now give me more freedom, so it's not as bad as in that sense. It's not more convenient, but it still happens where maybe I'll have a hypo in the middle of my sleep, and I'll have to wake up. I'll have to go to the kitchen, make myself something to eat, and try to go back to sleep. Or like you're participating in an activity like a school trip, and you realize that this isn't the opportune moment to be doing an injection. Now, from personal experience, they try to promote this idea where it's like, don't worry about it, everyone's cool, we will all understand, you need to do what you need to do, that's fine, kind of thing. But realistically, I found that no, it is an inconvenience. People don't like it, especially employers. You're working pallets, or you're working in the warehouse, you're working on the forklift, then you have to say to your boss, sorry boss, I need a timeout. um they're they'll tolerate it, they'll put up with it maybe once or twice, but if it starts becoming a regular sort of thing where you're now a liability, then understandably, you're going to annoy them. Billy, I just ate and now I feel cathartic and having to rest in my truck. My dad has to shoot himself with insulin in the stomach. Yeah, that's where I'm doing mine, in the stomach. I got no meat on my legs or arms, and I can't reach around to my backside. Um, yeah, I hope his control is reasonable. Um, as a side note, to what degree do you want to have control as well is another sort of big question, because for the doctors, they're never happy. You know, like it could be quite easy for me to turn around and be like, okay, fine, my sugar levels are out of control. Fine, okay, I'm gonna lose a leg. They're gonna amputate my foot, or I'm gonna have a kidney damage or something. Fine, okay. I feel myself deteriorating. Fine, okay. Um, I made my bed. I'm gonna sleep in it. You resign, but the doctors aren't happy to hear that, and they'll keep, well, they keep offering me these what is it called, lambda or something. There's a sensor that you can stick on your arm to do these blood tests, and there's an insulin pump, and they keep trying to push this on me. Do you want an insulin pump? Do you want the sensor? And I'm just like, no, I don't want a constant reminder that I'm diabetic, even though maybe that's something I should actually acknowledge. It's like I was saying, I have a constant. There is a constant diabetic voice telling me every moment of the day, like, have you eaten? Have you had your insulin? Is your sugars going up? Is your sugars going down? Constantly checking in with myself. How do I feel? That's the big question that's ringing in my head all the time. How do I feel? How do I feel? Am I getting agitated? Is it because someone's pissed me off, or is it because my sugars are going out of control? Because that can make you cranky. Like hunger and what's that word? Hunger and anger, when they mash it together. Hangry, is that right? Hangry, when you're hungry, when you're hungry, angry. You get that with diabetes. That kind of like, I'm irritable because my sugars are going up, and I know I'm going to have to do something that I don't want to have to do, which is like have an injection. But yeah, if you want to have, if I want to have better control, I'm gonna have to prioritize this diabetes entity aspect, um, more so, and get on with it. Right. So let's move on from diabetes. Anyway, we've been talking about it for Jesus, 40 minutes already. So car skills. All right, we're gonna have to fly through this stuff. All right, car skills. So similar kind of. So sometimes, so car skill. The point here I'll quickly add on is sometimes you'll be surprised with an unexpected rewards. How about that? So, you might be like, oh man, I don't want to have to do that. But hey, put your emotions aside, get on with it, and you never know. You might be surprised. Like in all likelihood, you probably will be surprised and pleased and proud and boost. This would be a good way of boosting your self-esteem, actually doing something, you know. So again, this is like from personal experience. As you already know, I've been working on my car. And again, it's all because of the result, which a problem occurred. If you recall, my power steering failed. If it wasn't for that failing, see, I might have been angry at the time. Darn, curses, damn, the car's not MOT. Damn, it's sitting there doing nothing. But if it wasn't for that happening, it wouldn't have kicked my butt into gear to be motivated to be like, right, so what's the problem? I need to fix this. And there will be no obstacle. Like, this will be done. Like, the goal, the ambition was so powerful that whatever challenges arose, it was not going to be a contest. It was like, this is going to be done. There is no compromise in this in that equation. So you'll go to the nth degree to find your solution, to find your salvation, and in the process, you'll in likelihood find other things that, like bolt-ons of knowledge and skills that can take you into directions you weren't even considering before. So for those who aren't aware, I've actually already got a mechanical level 1 NVQ. Like I did college in mechanics, so I'm already familiar with cars. It's just with the more modern version being more electrical based and all this sort of techie stuff, it was putting me off the daunting fear of like, what am I dealing with? And so my car is called, I named my car Pandora. It's like a box of, like, on all these plastic clip, like, to get access to anything you have to remove so many things. It wasn't like that before. When I was working on cars, everything was easy to get to. So now it's inspired me to be like, okay, now I've looked up some things, right? I'm gonna mess around with the transmission. I'm gonna mess around with some of the suspension. I'm gonna try and maybe rust proof the thing, given today's current situation with combustion engines versus EVs. Like, this might be, you never know, this might be the last combustion engine vehicle I'll ever own. So it's like, I better make this last. It's kind of funny. I was messing around with the boot struts, replacing those because the tailgate has no. It's got a limp dick problem, I suppose. It tried to eat me. It keeps falling down on my head. So I was like, right, change the boot struts. I mean, that's an easy job. But the idea here, anyway, with the car is that it's an example of being surprised at yourself. I mean, yes, my to-do list is yet to be done, but I have the confidence and the knowledge, know-how that I can do this. I can do these tasks. But it's that in the past, like, I wouldn't have dared myself enough to bother doing it. I would have just sent it down to the garage and be like, garage, you fix it for me, save me the trouble. So what's the lesson here that I can kind of encourage people is that bravery or the excitement of adventure in a way, because there'll be this getting out of your comfort zone into uncharted territories which you're not familiar with might be daunting, but with the surprises, there can be the excitement and the possibility or the possibilities of potentials start to open up more and more. Because obviously with the car, like if I'm doing my own work on it and I'm changing the engine mounts, I'm going to pull out the struts and things like that, then not only is it getting your hands on, and not only is it saving you a few bob here or there, but like can you list out any sort of drawbacks from not doing it? So it's kind of like win-win-win. You know, then you start saying to yourself, why didn't I do this sooner? Anyway, so that's point number 2. Let's move on. So number 3, attending to things you've put off. I'm sure mentally you've all got to-do lists and you keep saying to yourself, I need to sort this out, I need to do that, do this, and for whatever reason you tell yourself, you make excuses, and you procrastinate and it doesn't get done. And then you become comfortable in the act of procrastination. So it's kind of like without that necessity or that need or that pain, you have to have a bit of an awareness that you'll have a tendency to be like, well, it's like that something like, why fix what isn't broken? So you say to yourself, oh, it's not broken, therefore I don't need to fix it. And that's a lie. You need to say to yourself, no, this is broken, or if I leave it, the cracks are there, it's gonna break. I need to get this, don't wait until it's actually broken, do it now. So you put things off until it becomes a crisis, and now suddenly it's like, oh, a crisis has happened, and I have to do whatever it is. Wish me well, everyone. And it's kind of like, we shouldn't really need to be doing that. Had you been more attentive with maintenance and your scheduling, you wouldn't even be in this situation for us to wish you well. So really, I mean, it's kind of like, it's kind of like, fine, okay, like, well done for finally having the realization you need to do something, but damn it, like, what do you want? You want a biscuit for that? Like, you want a medal? You want us to celebrate or something? Like, it should have already been done. You should have already been aware to it. So making phone calls that maybe you needed to have made, sending emails, sorting out your house, your home, that's a maintenance protocol there, because I don't think anyone's home is ever really at a point that never needs some sort of decluttering or organizing. So I've been doing a little bit of that. The kids' bedroom is overflowing with toys, so it's kind of like some of this stuff has to go, and some of your clothes don't fit anymore, they need to go. Setting habits. So exercise, this one combines a little bit with the diabetes, so I've made a kind of conscious effort to be a bit more mindful about, lift the weights here or there, just get over the hump, like baby steps, get into the swing, just get the ball rolling. I don't need to be going to the gym just yet, I don't need to be having like workout sessions just yet, but I think it'd be good to sort of move in that direction. And so just, don't be a stranger to things like exercise, or maybe for some people it might be their diet, you know, or it might be some other area of life. It's at least make some at least put some effort, even if it's a minuscule amount. At least it's, you know, at least baby step it and get in and set it as a habit. So accordingly, it takes 6 weeks for habits to form. So if you can do this for 6 weeks, it won't be such a mental hump that you have to get like kicking yourself in the back. You know, you'll just do it more subconsciously, and it'll become the norm. And it will just become one of the things you do. It won't have to become this big, humongous ordeal, effort, you know, a battle in of itself. It's like the battle before the battle. You know, the first battle is with yourself before you actually get on with doing the task at hand. So there's enough battle going on here. How about you get with the program? It's your own program. You know, be a comrade to yourself. Be a friend to yourself, and help yourself through the next challenge, and everything could be much better. It doesn't have to be like pulling out teeth or something severe, you know. This is you typically, maybe not in all circumstances, but this is generally your emotional brain just running amok and making it a boogeyman out of the situation, probably in a way to self-sabotage you from having to actually do the things that you don't want to do. So you're going to see there's a lot of this denial and coming up with excuses and reasons to not be or do the things that deep down inside you want to, likely because of low self-esteem. Maybe you don't feel like you deserve it, and so you resolve that dissonance by either sabotaging or finding excuses so that your reality lines up with your emotional fantasy in your head. And with what I just said there, that's going to tie into this whole black pill later on. So this idea from prepping to being set up, it kind of, because I was thinking, what have I been doing lately? Have I been keeping on top of prepping? You know, the big catastrophe that's looming overhead. Prepping. Have you got your food? Have you got your water? Have you got your guns or whatever it is you've got to prepare for? And I was thinking, the word prepping, is that really a good word to be using? Yes, I understand, like prepping for bad situations, prepping for the worst times or whatever. But really, do you want to be in a state of prepping, or would you rather be in a state of, I've got my shit down, I'm set up, I'm good? You know, can you ever be in a full state of being set up? So it's just something to think about. A little, you know, it's basically, I suppose, this kind of idea is stemming from the idea of chasing happiness and just being happy. Like, is prepping a form of continual reach? You're trying to reach for something. You're spending your life in pursuit and never quite getting there. You know, wouldn't it be better if you can actually get that pursuit, the hunt, the chase? Like, at what point is that going to come to an end where you can have that contentment and say, you know what, I'm as prepared as I'm gonna be. I'm content with what I've got. We're gonna roll with this. I don't need to be prepping as such anymore. And then this point here, stop future faking with yourself. You know what I mean by that? Oh, I will, Billy. I'll do that later, Billy. Oh, maybe next month, Billy. Maybe next week, Billy. Or maybe I'd like to go on holiday. Like, never mind all this sort of wishy-washy future faking, false promises that you make yourself. Oh, if only the stars were aligned, then I can do this. Or if only such and such happened, and then, like, you're so outcome, is it right? You're so outcome dependent, or you're so dependent on circumstance being just right for you, how convenient, you lazy person, that only then would you actually apparently do the things that you're promising that you're going to be doing. So stop doing this silliness. Stop BSing. Get it done, and then you won't need to be, make this fantasy. If you know, like make it kill the fantasy by making it a reality. So get it done. Stop. You almost kind of curse yourself when you make these declarations, because what's going to happen? You're gonna. Oh, I'm gonna. Um, I'm, I'm gonna kick whatever bad habit I don't like when circumstances are just right. So I'm powerless otherwise. I mean, so you're indirectly saying you're powerless, and there you are saying you're gonna be taking control and ownership. Doesn't make sense. And what will happen when some time elapses? Someone says to you, "So whatever happened to you saying you were gonna travel the world? When was that going?" And now you're disappointed with yourself for letting yourself down, and especially if you've been broadcasting your intentions out to other people. Now you're like a fraudster, so you feel ashamed, disappointed, um, maybe elements of sort of a betrayal to the so-called dream, and you reduce your chances of actually succeeding, when if you had just put all of this aside and put more energy and effort into actually getting it done, it would probably already be done. You see what I'm saying? I mean, the amount of that kind of, when you look at it like as a energy investment, you listen to content create, listen to their chat, you see how there's no real return. The return is the sort of the pity dick. It's the sympathy garnering. Oh, woe is me. If only the world knew my greatness. And then maybe I could shine. But until then, you're like, get on with it. So put the violin away. Burn the violin. Okay, so point number 4. Well, before we get there, Manitopia's here. Good evening, sir. Oh, is D-Man off? Who's going? I think D-Man might be going. Have a good evening, D-Man. Okay, put in others first. Point number 4. This one might be a little quirky, because here I'm trying to say, putting yourself first. Really, you need to put yourself, like, you've already been putting other people first in a way, maybe a bit too much. You're dependent on other people to make things right for you. You recruit them to be responsible for your caregiving. However, it at times, depending on the situation, circumstances, or whatever, at times it still can help you get out of your comfort zone. Because if you're putting other people first, then you're having to step out your comfort zone, to attend to whatever it is they want. Now, a little bit tied in with that point I was making about the unexpected rewards with point 2, I'll give you a case example of what happened recently with my kid. So my kid wanted to go to, it was Sunday night, already in the evening, and my kid says she wants to go to Legoland. And I'm like, no way, that's like a 3-hour drive. You need to buy tickets in advance. It's Sunday. By the time we get there, we'd have to come back home, and so that's a big no-no. She doesn't quite understand this. She's getting upset with me. So it's getting heated, it's getting frustrating, anger, temper, and I'm thinking, So I said to her, all right, we're going to go in the car. and we're gonna get ourselves lost. We're gonna go somewhere we've never been before. Adventure is out there, and we're gonna go intentionally get lost. She didn't like that idea either, but I managed to wrangle her backside into the car nonetheless, and we drove off. Now it wasn't totally lost. I had a vague idea where we were, so I didn't need to have a map with me. But as from her point of view, she had no idea where we were going. So we spent about half hour or so driving, and I'm commenting on the surroundings, like, oh, look at this road's quite a good road, or these houses, whatever. Eventually, I decided, okay, we're going to pull up around here, and she wasn't impressed. This was a random spot along, like, no shops in eyesight anyway, so it was kind of like there's nothing here for her to be interested about. Oh, she did see on the way a skate park, and I was like, well, there you go. Never knew there was a skate park here. Now you know. So yeah, so we arrive at the destination, we pull up, and I said to her, right, let's go for a little walk around this area, see what there is here. And we found a pub. And being a Sunday night, I double checked. I was like, have you got a kids? Is the kitchen still open? Can we have a kids menu? So she was pleased, is basically what I'm saying. Especially because this pub where we sat was right next to the TV, and it had the England versus Ukraine football match. Now, I don't like football, but my kid enjoys football. And so we watched some football. I don't particularly, like I said, I don't particularly enjoy football, but the experience was very pleasant for both of us. So she enjoyed watching England score 2 goals, some football, getting attended to by the bar staff, receiving her chicken nuggets and chips for dinner. And I'm commenting, hey, that does look quite good. She got a couple of scoops of ice cream. I was like, well, there you are. And I made a point to say to her, like, we would not have discovered this pub had we not taken the chance, the gamble, the risk to basically get out of our comfort zone and do it, to explore, to go to the unknown. So putting other people first, compromising, can be another way of taking you places where unexpectedly you wouldn't have gone to before. If I worded that right, you wouldn't have done it otherwise. And one of the points of note here is because when people complain, particularly like when they're complaining about other people's rules being imposed, I can't do what I like because of the rules, it's like there's so much focus on the boundaries being set around this person. It's like I'm claustrophobic. I'm wearing a straitjacket. I can't have my freedom because of all these shackles placed on me. It's like, yes, but where are you directing your energy? Are you directing your energy on your restraints, when really you should be focusing on what power do you have? What is within your power of control? And that is what you should really be harnessing. Instead of you should be like nurturing, instead of trying to nurture this idea of focusing on the boundaries that keep you in place. Because no wonder life to you will look like a prison if that's all you're seeing or focusing or concentrating on. That's like the woe is me again. Too busy complaining and moaning, and like instead of having the appreciation and the awareness to realize, hang on, despite this limitation, I can still thrive. I can still do things. I'm not a completely helpless whatever. But it's that kind of switch of mentality. This will start to reveal the honesty of what's actually going on inside. Are you a kind of person who prefers to complain? Or are you a can't person, or are you a do person? Like disempowering or empowering? Which one do you prefer? Which one do you lean towards? And that will become evident in when you listen to people speak. It starts to manifest itself because it kind of seeps out into their language, like disempowering vocabulary compared to empowering vocabulary. Now, obviously, so that's point 4, putting other people first and having that kind of external awareness, I think is probably a way of putting that. And so you have to have some consideration to your gut, your soul, your heart, your sense of self. And so listening to others instead of that voice of an ego can also be beneficial to you, because you can get constructive criticism, and that in turn goes from passive to active listening. Case in point here, I hope that I haven't been talking, let's see, for 1 hour and 6 minutes with all of y'all just passive listening. Oh, I like the sound of his voice, but not actually hearing the words. You know, what would be the point in that? Background music. So if you're going to be listening to people, you need to be actively listening. Actually pay attention. You know, but this is the trouble. If you're so wrapped up in your emotions, it's going to be hard to get past that voice of an ego of yours to then be able to listen actively. So if you are achieving active listening, the words do penetrate you. You remember what is being said. Then that is a sign or an indicator to you that you're shifting from being a passive, complaining layabout to someone who is proactive, a go-getter, a doer, someone who is has drive, direction, meaning, purpose. What is the meaning of life? To have, or what is the reason for life? To have like meaning and purpose. Well, in part anyway. Like, but those will be like ingredients. And so, if you don't have any meaning in your life or have any purpose in your life, well, guess how you're going to feel. And is that a place you want to stay in? So, being passive, you might as well be dead. Being active, you're living, you're alive. So bear that in mind. And that could, like the exercise. Where's that exercise bit? Like that exercise, getting over the small hump. You know, this is like a exercise that you can gradually increase. You make a mental note to yourself to say like, hey, I do. You be honest and you say like, you know what? I am a bit of a passive listener. Things go over my head. I hear it again and again and again, and I don't take the lesson on board or do anything about it. Maybe this time it should like sink in and resonate. You know, I acknowledge it and be like, okay, I finally hear you now. And that momentum will like replicate in other aspects of your life, where from being let's say you're passive with your diet, like you're passive with the attending or the diabetes. From being passive with the diabetes, you're now becoming more active. So that's I suppose like a little tip. If you want to get out of that procrastination and become more active, then you know, baby steps. Right. Number 6. Oh, wait, before we get to number 6, just let me double check the comments. Okay, no one's got anything to say. That's all good. So number 6, stop being indecisive. Like, listen to yourself here. That was really what I meant by your heart, your soul, you know, the sense of self. So that future faking dreamer part of you, those core wants and needs, to be to basically be clear mind, to make decisions and stick to them, instead of, oh, maybe this, maybe that. I suppose really this should be like along that future faking part. But yeah, so stop being indecisive, or I don't know what to do, or maybe, be clear minded, and like tied in with that, the car skills, like be like clear minded. We are going to fix this. Like, there isn't really any decision to be made here. I'm making up situations in order to make it seem like a decision needs to be made. Like, am I going to get the garage to fix it, or am I going to have to fix it? Well, it's like, well, am I going to pay someone to do it, or am I going to save money and do it myself and learn the skills and know my car better? Well, it's not really. It's like a no-brainer. It's going to be like, well, I'm going to do it myself then, innit? It's pretty clear cut as far as I'm concerned. Not really a debate here about that. So stop being indecisive. Be clear-minded. Focus. Articulate what it is you want. Make it simple, not convoluted or anything. I want to get better. I want to get fitter. I want to get money. I want to get, I don't know, girls. I want to get a new car. I want to get a house. Whatever it is, be clear, be precise. When you got, your targets dead set, like it's a headshot, or I don't know what a shooting analogy would be like, but if you're trying to hit the target, then bloody aim at the target. We're not going to be like doing curve shots here, are we? Like, be direct, be precise, be accurate, be clear, be focused. What do you want? Make affirmations. So that's the empowering. Like, I will improve my diabetes. Well, even saying improve, I will get control of my diabetes. So there's not minced words there. So even I made a mistake. I said the wrong word. Because what's the point of saying improve? What, you mean you done a blood test earlier in the stream? Does that count? Job done? No, that ain't job done. That's just one blood test during a stream to make a point. That's not getting your diabetes better. It's gonna take commitment, effort, energy, and all the rest of it. Hard work, discipline. So watch the language you use, and not only do you use this language to trick people, but to trip yourself up. So in that case where I confess, or I fess up, like, there's no point saying improve diabetes. It's no, I will get control of this. Make affirmations, make decisions, take the responsibility. No one else is. And even if they offered, you wouldn't want to delegate it to them, really, would you? At the end of the day, would you really want someone else to have to wipe your backside for you when you know deep down that you can do it yourself? So take responsibility and ownership of what it is, of your life, what it is you want, of your mind, of your emotions, all these things. And yes, it's a lot, but it's worth it, isn't it? Because it's you at the end of the day, so this is what makes someone wealthy, or this is the fortune, is having that kind of self-mastery. This is richness that money can't buy. This is like, it sounds a bit crude, but if we put it in like layman sort of terms, like higher value man, I hate to use that, but like, these would be the qualities of a higher value man. This is someone that would be respectable, is someone who is taking control of their of their discipline, of their self, taking the responsibility, knowingly willing to incur the consequences if not if but when they make mistakes, because obviously you're going to be making mistakes. It's not going to be perfect. So it's just someone who is able to hold themselves accountable. And to me anyway, in my opinion, maybe you disagree, but these are the traits of someone who has earned their respect. And the funny thing is, once they get to that point, they don't really need to be seeking respect from other people. It kind of means nothing to them at this point, because it's self-gratifying. You don't need the validation of someone else saying to you, "Oh, well done for getting your life together." That's neither here nor there. It's like, okay, I suppose thank you for the compliment, but the person who really needs to who needs to pat me on the back is myself. But even then, I don't even need to pat myself on the back, because it shouldn't have to be something that requires a patting off the back. I don't need to give myself a cookie over this. It needs to get it done. Okay, we're going to be going on to the black pill, and then we'll be closing up. I'm hoping that this stream is applicable or can be applied. I hope you can take things from here and it helps in whatever way. And obviously, you might have some other ideas that you feel help you or more pertinent to your sort of case and situation. And maybe you think this is just a projection of these are my own list of character flaws or whatever. But so be it. So let's discuss this black pill a little bit. I do not agree with this idea that the black pill, like I've heard a couple of the gents talking about like jawlines, like a so-called black pillar will make remarks about other people like oh, you're good looking, you got a jawline, you've got nothing to worry about. Me, I'm a loser, I'm defeated, I'm what was the word? What was the descriptor? I'm hardly even a man, kind of thing, And I mean, this is embarrassing to hear. This is like, this is learned helplessness. This is the bleak pill. And I think where they get this sort of mentality from is maybe with the emotional, imaginative heart. They feel like, oh, my heart is blackened. My soul has been blackened. My life feels black. And therefore, ergo, I must be a black pill. And it's like, no, this is just you, not to sound like unsympathetic, but being a bit too misery guts and looking for excuses to try and justify what the things that you should be doing. Because to me, like the way I see it is far different. I mentioned it in Bullet Stream in the chat. I'm trying to remember how I phrased it, but it's in a loose way. It's about confronting the shadow work. It's about confronting the demon, as it were, the inner critic, the ego, the whatever, the things that are distasteful that you don't want to admit are there. And it's hard to face these inner demons. They are very aloof because one of their mechanisms is to be undetected. So how do you detect something that is made in a way to avoid detection? And so you have no awareness. Well, you there's a good chance like you're likely not aware that you lie to yourself, or that you have denial, or that you think in a certain way. So yeah, so the first point here on my list is the BS you tell yourself. And so the black pill to me is this facing up to another form of reality of sorts. It's that inner world, facing up to that the way you look at life is a construct largely created by yourself. Now you can't, as much as you want to blame society and the world for how you became, you have to acknowledge at some point there was ownership here. Otherwise, you're saying you're a helpless little lamb. Um, the world has done all this to you. The world has lied to you. Society has lied to you. Governments and systems have been in place to suppress you, and there was nothing you could do about it. So and leaning into the topic of narcissism, for any victim to make any progress, they need to acknowledge that they had some part to play. Uh, that yes, it's not letting the narcissist off the hook, or forgiving them as such, even though there will be an element of forgiveness at some point, because uh, because because you're uh, you're um, you're a participant. Just as much as the narcissist was trying to take advantage of you, in all likelihood, you were also hoping that the narcissist was going to be your source of self-esteem, to save you, to look after you. And so with the black pill, in terms of wider society, you need to realize that, okay, fine, not denying that the world has done mean and horrible things to you, but what was your part in all of this? Don't pretend to be a victim here, you know. Um, so what BS do you tell yourself? What things do you deny? Are you in denial about? And how well can that sit with the realization and the acknowledgement and all that good stuff? How well can you live with yourself, realizing that maybe, just maybe, you're not as perfect as you like to think yourself as, and there are maybe some distasteful things, but how comfortable? This is kind of funny. There I am saying get out of your comfort zone, but in this case, it's getting out of your safety net in order to be comfortable with the things you find uncomfortable. Like, going with John makes a good point of this. It's like I'm paraphrasing here, John, so forgive me, but it's kind of like I can be a dick, I'm an asshole, um, make no bones about it, kind of thing. I'm a nice guy also, so there's a balance, um, you know, and this isn't in a way where you say, oh well, of course I could be a meanie at times. You say it to humanize yourself, because you don't want to appear as if, because obviously if you say no, I'm perfect, I never harm a butterfly, kind of thing, then it doesn't sound believable. So that's something a narcissist might do. So can a narcissist tell the truth? Do they always lie? Well, yeah, sometimes they can tell the truth, but it's for a reason. They do it as part of that manipulation. So a narcissist might confess and say, "Oh yeah, I've lied before. I've stolen a loaf of bread one time." You know, there you are thinking, so they are human. I mean, they do make mistakes. So then the narcissist is undetected. So that's another that BS that you're telling yourself, if that's kind of like what you're doing there. You're more concerned with the appearance than you are of the actual what's going on. And then you wonder, if you are someone who is constantly BSing yourself, then you wonder why things aren't going your way. Well, maybe that's an indicator, a signal. Now, I put here acceptance. And this is, again, another area where I think this other kind of black pill, definition that's going around of these nihilist doomer gloomer uh, pessimists or whatever they take it they're disproportionate, or they distort it, because on the one hand, like I can see a little bit of that. Like it's like, look, life sucks, or it can suck. Life is not fair, and so, like, what do you want it to be bubble wrap for you? Like, do you want to live in La La Land? Is that what's going on here? Like, is life so harsh that that your feelings are so sensitive that you can't take any little bumps or scrapes? Um, yeah, life for many people can suck. Get on with it, accept it. Um, okay, we take this other kind of black pill that I'm hearing about. So they're going on about, I don't know, they seem to be focused on their looks. Like, oh, I'm not a handsome guy. I can't get women. My life sucks. It's like, right, okay, fine. And so what are you going to do about it? You're going to moan and complain to me about it? Oh, you got a nice jawline. Well, what was it? They're talking about bone surgery to lengthen their legs, as if this is going to solve their problems. Or once the stars align and my legs are longer, then I'll have the confidence suddenly to be a alpha male, and then I'll feel better. And it's like, you're a lunatic. What are you talking about? You know, you get short people, they're very successful. You get ugly people, they're very successful. So these things, whatever handicap, excuse, isn't um these are kind of like the shackles they're putting it on themselves. They're imprisoning themselves because they're so scared of actually trying, or to they're so scared of maybe rejection or disappointment that they'd rather not even try. They give up before even trying. Ultimately, this comes down to a case of self-esteem. um but this is where, like, my definition is totally in a different direction than that, because if we look at, say, if we maybe put the idea of the red pill and the black pill in this kind of umbrella term of the grieving process, then black pill is part of that grieving process, and acceptance is part of that grieving process. So for me, the black pill, like, as dark as it might seem for some people, I see it with optimism. I see it as like, yes, the dream has died. We can't escape denial anymore. We can't BS ourselves anymore. You have to confront who you are. You have to introspect like you've never introspected before. And we are going to be digging deep. We are going bedrock. We're going in through the Earth's mantle. We are going to the core of what's going on, into the inferno that's inside you, and we're going to emerge from that, or hopefully. So I don't see how it's like the life and death cycle. Like, it's like, this is mortification. It's like, yes, we are going to psychologically die, but we're going to be reborn, because in a way, with nihilism, this is why I got a different take on nihilism. People see it as this defeatist, apocalyptic conclusion, and I see it as part of the cycle of life. It's like we will all go through nihilism, and we probably have come from nihilism, and it gives way for the potential of opportunity and uh, experience and things like this. It helps calibrate what matters to us. It helps us be clear. It helps us to have better definitions when we reality test our hypothesis, our philosophy, when we put it up against the ropes and see how well it withstands. Survival of the fittest. What remains will be this purity aspect, and we can then, if we're wise enough, take that and nurture it. So for me, the way I see Black Pill is, if you really want to um, have the straight and narrow in life, to really understand what matters, to um, have that precision in a way, then you need to sort of look at that aspect of what the Black Pill offers. Through the darkness, you have the light, sort of, so to speak, if that makes sense. So I don't see anything really abysmal about the Black Pill, unless unless you're unless you're someone who is leaning into learned helplessness or procrastination or depression, or you think when you hear Black Pill, you think of like a uh, bleak pill, bleak outcome, a bleak life. It doesn't have to be like that at all. It can become the fertilizer for things to grow. You know, so kind of like an oxymoron there, because it's like, as black and dark as it sounds, um, it it gives way to things to flourish. You know, the coal will weak, the wheat or whatever, for things to grow. Um, but maybe my take on it is totally wrong, but that's what my way of looking at it anyway. And Ross is here. So that's about it for this evening stream. I'm glad and I appreciate everyone for watching. If this was helpful, please drop a like. I said, bitch, just don't marry one. Yes. Yeah. Oh, you're asking for a Sean Connery, right? The Rock. Your best. Losers whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen. Yeah. So we'll wrap it up there. Take care until the next time we speak, and I see you in the chats, and all that good stuff. So yeah, adios.